we've had a great few days.
All right, guys, again, let's not worry about that Melbourne weather because it's always cold, okay? You know, that's why those people love that, Lionel. And again, thank you for coming online, okay? You're from Horsham in Victoria, Melbourne, Australia, or Victoria, Australia. So, Lionel, I really thank you so much for your time, energy, and effort for coming online tonight and just sharing with some of the great information about evidence-based wellness testing. Thanks again for coming on.
Great, Rob. Thanks for having me on, and good to see you. Looking forward to tonight. It's love to share these things with our contemporaries around the world, and it's an exciting time, particularly you know, in this era now with COVID and everything else, where evidence-based testing has become really at the forefront of people's minds. So it's a great pleasure to be here.
And that's the key. But what I want to do first up, because I like everybody, look, I know I can sit here, I've got your resume and all your credentials, but what I'd like to do is always get the practitioner himself. Just give me a snapshot of your last 30 years, where you've come from with your in-clinic practice to where you are today with evidence-based testing. Tell me about what you've done in the previous, and then we'll take on from where we are today.
Excellent. Okay, so started in '83 after studying naturopathic nutrition. Have always had a health and wellness fascination from the time I was a very young man. Keen observer of people and people's habits, and just loved everything I could do around improving my own health and wellness. I was an athlete as a young person growing up, and was determined to become the best athlete I could become. So health and wellness became an absolute fixation with me from a very young age, as did watching people's habits, drinking habits, eating habits, exercise habits. And it became my life and my lifestyle. So '83 started my first practice, mainly working in gyms. Noticed that there was a big disconnect within gyms with people wanting the way they trained, the way they ate, the way they prepared for training, the way that they recovered from training. And just thought that there's got to be a better way for people to learn how to nourish their bodies, how to get more from their training. So that became the area that I focused on for a number of years. Though the more I practiced in that field, the more I became aware that people were still getting misinformed. There were so many celebrity endorsements out there, so many advertorial articles being put out there that weren't fact-based. They were just as I said, advertorials from companies wanting to sell products or promote a certain industry or group of people for their own personal interest. And that really frustrated me to the point that I really questioned where I was going with the industry and my profession. But I always maintained a commitment to my people and trying to give them the best evidence and the best service that I could. In 2011, I discovered evidence-based testing in the nutritional and health and wellness area. I discovered it on two forms, virtually on the same day. I discovered the InBody 570 body composition analysis machine, and I discovered hair testing. I'd always used blood analysis and stool samples and saliva analysis with my clients prior to that, but with the introduction to the cell wellbeing hair test and the body composition tests, it just took my business to another level. It meant that I could be far more succinct around the evidence, around the advice that I gave to my clients, but I could then back it up with the evidence from the testing. And so I changed my practice, changed the way I practice completely, stopped dealing with people that weren't prepared to have evidence-based testing as part of their regime with me, and only work with people that were prepared to look at evidence-based testing. And that's the way I've practiced since 2011. Just have relied solely and wholly on evidence-based testing.
See, now that's a major step forward. You say 2011, so we're talking like 10 years ago, and technology has changed dramatically in the last 10 years. And interesting fact, that's Zenzino's balance test or Zenzino test has been around 10 years as well. We did launch it here in Australia about 3 years ago, but it's good to see with the knowledge that you've got and what you have gained over the last 10 years, especially with that hair analysis and the blood testing, the normal blood testing, and taking somebody's actual structure and then helping rectify what part of their body needs repairing. Because as you know, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors these days with people just going, well, I think that works. I think that should repair you. But I know with what I've been talking to yourself about over the last 6 or 4 months that you've been doing the analysis of the Zenzino products, that you really dig deep in fixing one area for somebody. Then we move on to another area. Talk to me about how now you've incorporated your first two, hair analysis, blood testing, and then how the Zenzino test has literally fallen into a part of your regime, being the Zenzino Omega test and also the vitamin D test. Talk to me how you see the integration of those three practices giving the results of the products you're prescribing. And I know that you have to, as a wellness person, have to prescribe other products. That's your duty and your care that you have to do. But tell me how you're bringing those three analyses together to get the best result for your people.
I'll correct you on one thing. I don't have to prescribe other products. You're very aware, Rob, that I am not a supplements-based person. I'll take you back just prior to that. So I've always had a great belief at the foundation of my business has always been this absolute belief and innate understanding of the fact that the body, if we create the right conditions, will heal itself. So that's been the foundation of the way I've practiced throughout my entire life. I know that if we create the right conditions within our bodies, our body will heal itself. And that's why I used evidence. And my evidence was the best way that I could show people that if we created the right conditions around our nutrition, that the body will not only heal itself, not only will people see and feel the difference, but with the evidence-based testing, we could demonstrate 100% with absolute clarity that the healing was taking place. I stumbled across Zenzino by accident about 8 months ago now, as I first came across your product and met you not long after. And what I loved about the Zenzino product was it always at the core of most of my practice, I've always been aware that inflammation and poor gut health are generally the underlying precursors to most invasive illness and disease that we have. And that's been provided, that evidence I've received from 38, 39 years of dealing with people. I've always been able to draw back to chronic inflammation, acute inflammation in some cases where people have just got an injury or picked up a virus or something, but chronic inflammation and poor gut health. What I loved about the Zenzino products and also the testing was, one, the independence of the testing. That was the number one thing for me. I've never prescribed or asked people to go down the supplementation path. But when I saw what Zenzino were prepared to do with the evidence-based testing that they do, but also the veracity of the products that they were promoting, and the fact that they were going down the path at that time of getting the TGA approval, that just resonated with me. When I did some more research into the balance oil in particular and the prebiotic, I realized that it was the perfect product for me to be able to prescribe to my clients, because it filled in so many of the gaps that my clients had. Even though when they were eating really, really well, I was giving them really sound nutritional advice on how and when they should be eating and what they should be eating. There was still a gap. The evidence was there in my testing. We could see that we weren't achieving all of the things that we wanted to achieve, albeit people were doing as best they could to follow my instructions and to follow the eating plans that I was putting in place. They still weren't getting the great improvements that we wanted. All of a sudden, I come across the Zenzino Balance Oil. Me being the skeptic and the cynic that I am, I said, I'm not going to give this to my clients unless I've tested it myself. I did my initial test. Nikki did it for me, actually. Good old Nikki did that for me. My test results astounded me, to be honest. I didn't realize that I was as inflamed as I was. I'd just come off some blood clots that I got from the AstraZeneca vaccination. So I had a lot of inflammation in my body, had some pulmonary embolisms on my lungs, and I was quite blown away by how poor my result was. Went straight onto the balance oil and the xenobiotic at the same time, and tested myself at 120 days and was blown away by the improvements within my system. I then backed it up with my own blood tests. I did my CRP, I did my ESR tests, I did a liver function test, and I did some stool sample testing as well. And again, the improvements were astounding to me. And so that was enough for me to then say to my clients, okay, I'm going to introduce you to a new product. It's a product that I believe in. It's a product that I've met some of the key personnel around the product in Australia. I've been able to speak to Paul Clayton, Colin Robinson, and a number of other people associated with the company. And I said, I've got great faith and great belief in this product. And as a consequence of that, I really want to get you guys onto it. The second part of your question, cell well-being testing for me was really, really, really important. It allowed me to show people what was going on at a cellular level within their bodies. It allowed me to show how organs were being affected, how skin was being affected, how heart, brain, lungs, the gut was being affected. And it gave me a great platform to really start to educate people and get them to own the journey by understanding just what was happening within their bodies. For me, because that's a key part of what I do. It's not just for me to sit here and pontificate to my clients. I'm doing my clients a disservice if I'm not educating them and giving them the opportunity to own their health and wellness journey. So with my cell wellbeing testing and the previous blood testing that I was doing, I was able to then show my clients and integrate into my clients the Zinzino range of products. And again, using the balance test and my other testing that I do show the results from what we were achieving using the balance oil and the Xenobiotic. Because one of the things that I did straight away was I had a protocol right from the start that I was putting people on the balance oil and the Xenobiotic at the same time, because as you're aware, the statistics don't lie. 70 to 80% of all people either have chronic inflammation and gut health, or poor gut health and or poor chronic inflammation. So it was non-negotiable for me just to put people on both products, because there was the natural correlation between improving the gut and absorption of nutrients led to a better inflammatory control within the body. And then the polyphenol, vitamin E, rich omega-3 balance oil was just the other key ingredient to really reducing chronic inflammation.
I noticed that the slides that you showed at the educational talk that you did last week in Melbourne, you had a slide there of a damaged or inflamed cell versus a refreshed or replenished cell. Can you just talk to the people about how important it is to get that inflamed cell and then get it, basically reproducing correctly, so then it's a good cell eventually after 120 days or 240 days or 360. Some people don't understand that it could take a little bit longer based on the inflammation within the body or the cellular structure.
Well, that's exactly right, because one of the things you alluded to earlier, Robert, is that, when we fix one part of the body, generally something else will show up as well. So, for most people, there's more than one thing going on. What I was able to show with the diagram of a cell is that, when we don't have good cell membrane fluidity or flexibility, the flow of information and nutrition into the cell is really impeded. We're not getting the full flow of information, and there's a whole heap of toxicity that occurs when we are bringing information into the cells. If the cell is really rigid or lacking flexibility, those toxins stay within the cell and start to damage the cell. And because, as we all know, cells are dividing all of the time, if we aren't improving the nutrition with those cells by, looking at food-based nutritional intervention, those cells divide or replicate in and of themselves. So if the cell is damaged and we're not giving them good nutrition to help repair and remove that toxicity and improve the flexibility, those cells will just divide in almost a direct replica of themselves. So what we showed with that slide that you referred to, Rob, is that if we improve the nutrition, we improve the cellular integrity, the flexibility within the cell, and then we get the flow of information into the cell and the toxins removed from the cell, and the cells are dividing in a better incantation of themselves. And with that, comes as the cells divide. They become better, they become more functional, and the better the functionality of our cells, the better the repair that occurs within our organs and all of our systems within the body.
And that leads me to the next one, which you really showed, which was an amazing slide. The brain is your heartbeat of number one, and then your gut is your number two brain. Can you sort of just, because that's the xenobiotic side, can you talk about how and what I was really fascinated that it goes through the intestines and then it actually comes back up and feeds the brain the correct food it needs?
Yeah, so understanding that you know, with the colon and the bowel are working really effectively, the colon using prebiotics or insoluble fiber creates short chain fatty acids. Those short chain fatty acids come back to the brain and help with our cognitive functioning and the vagus pathway between the brain, the gut, and the heart. And so that whole transmission is improved, you know, using the prebiotic. And that's why, as I said earlier, the reason that I put people on the xenobiotic as well as the balanced oil is to improve the microbiota, the family of microbiome within the colon, so that the colon is and the bowel are creating those short chain fatty acids, which are going back to improve brain and cognitive functioning. It's a really important part of our overall health and wellness that, you know, that we understand that there is a link between, you know, the gut, the brain, and the heart. This vagus pathway is real. The information that we want it to get needs to be as clear and as concise as it can, so that, you know, the functioning is working well, so that we, you know, we're not dealing with, you know, impaired cognitive function, impaired memory, anxiety, you know, all of the mind and other body functions that can go wrong when we don't have great nutrition at a cellular level.
And that was interesting as well, because we had a gentleman in the audience that actually called it a probiotic. Can you just give that, because I loved your reply to it, can you just give the definition again of a pre and a pro, so people really understand the differences and why the xenobiotic is so powerful in the job that it's doing? Yeah,
so a probiotic is and it can come in many forms. There's many forms of different probiotics out there, and they generally have acidophilus and lactobacillus and bifidus and a whole range of other bacteria in there. But the beauty of a prebiotic is the prebiotic is an insoluble fiber. It goes down through the digestive system, it gets to the colon and the bowel, and in the colon and the bowel, it's creating the probiotics. And then the probiotics using the microbiota within the gut. So it's creating the probiotics that the body needs. And those probiotics are then being better utilized by the body because they're being created by the body, you know. And that's another reason why we use our body doesn't create omega-6, omega-3 oils as well, which is why we use the balance oil. We're bringing these supplements into the body to allow the body to use them and to turn them back around and become the best form of nutrition within the body, which is what the prebiotic is doing. It's going into the colon and the bowel, and it's becoming a much better nutrient for the body to use in a probiotic sense. It's creating those probiotics.
Fantastic. And I know you spoke about, and again, we don't make any medical claims here. This is just open conversation. As I say to people, we're just having a conversation about the wellness world. We talk about people that have got these man-made diseases that weren't around in the early 1900s. Okay, they're man-made diseases like for example, heart stroke, diabetes, eczema, all these issues that are happening internally, which is then coming out of the body, all because of the commercial foods that they're eating. The core products, as you've already just stated, would you say like the balanced oil and the xenobiotic would be the best start for most people to get on a daily basis? Is that, like you said before, that's your regime, that's the game changer? If you can get your body consuming those two items, that will then get your body at least in a right productive way that should flush out the garbage foods that people are consuming. And again, I always say to people, before 1960, there was no McDonald's, no KFC, no any of these commercial foods, and hence why the body was different to what it is today. Would that put them on the path of success?
Well, it'll certainly put them on the path of success. There's no doubt about that. If you look at anything that reduces inflammation, chronic inflammation in particular from the body, has got to be a positive. I haven't come across a product yet as good as particularly the premium oil with its higher polyphenol count for removing inflammation. It's certainly a starting point for me. You know, we talked, yeah, that's it. That's the premium oil. So we look at what we're doing, and the capsules, the Ascent capsules are also very good for those that don't like to take the oil, as is the Aqua X for those that have trouble breaking down fats and the like. So if you understand that most of us have an intent to eat well, and it's not our fault that the soils that foods are grown in aren't as abundant in minerals as they once were. It's not our fault that we have so many sprays and pesticides and fungicides get blown on the wind across farming lands and into our produce. It's not our fault that food has to travel as far as it travels. It is our fault the way we prepare our foods these days. Unfortunately, we overcook a lot of our foods. Some foods need to be overcooked. But a lot of our foods we don't prepare well. So we're not getting all of the value from the nutrition that we once did. The quality of our food isn't anywhere near as good as we would like it to be. So we're not getting the great nutrition that we want. So for me, the Zinzino as a insoluble fiber, and the Zinzino oils, the balance oils, are a great platform on which to start to build health and wellness. You talked about removing toxins from the body. The easiest way for us to remove toxins from the body is to get all of our cells working really, really well, all of the detoxification systems within our body, our skin, our lungs, our liver. These are the things that we want working at their optimum to really help detoxify the body. Yes, we want to use a lot of foods as well. So using an oil like the balance oil, which is going to help remove this inflammation from the body, is going to help our organs work better, particularly those detoxification organs within the body, and provide a great relief from that toxicity. And yes, the xenobiotic is going to provide that strong probiotic presence within the body to really facilitate, better absorption of nutrients. Really important when we have, food that is compromised. If we can improve our gut health, we're going to improve our absorption from the foods that we are eating. We're going to improve that cognitive functioning. We're going to start making better decisions. We're going to feel better about owning the journey and building on that platform of wellness using these two products. So yes, I couldn't be more effusive of the benefits of the oil and the xenobiotic.
Fantastic. So guys, I'm just going to give you a quick wrap up there, just so for those guests that are on the line. So what we've got is the Zinzino balance test, which is your omega testing, vitamin D test as well. The two go hand in hand. When you're doing your testing, you may as well do both tests. So the omega oil and also the balance test, okay, for the omegas, and then your vitamin D test. Coupled with that, okay, is what Lionel's saying, okay, is then make sure you can either use the standard balance oil, and that comes in multiple flavors, or you can have the premium oil, which is actually out of stock at this point of time. But to complement that, we do have the capsules, which has just been released with the TGA listing number on the box already, okay? So Therapeutics Goods Administration of Australia is all listed on this box. And this comes in a wonderful capsule format, very easy to consume for the people. Wonderful, wonderful product, which is the black oil, or the one that is 30 times stronger than what we've got here on polyphenols than our normal balanced oil. But again, guys, this is what we've built the whole company on, okay? This one here, the black one, the premium oil, is just a higher level of polyphenols within the product. Coupled with that then is the xenobiotic, your prebiotic. This is, again, a natural daily fiber, beautiful product. 1 to 2 scoops a day. Start at 1, then get up to 2. I do 2 scoops, and I wanted to leave mine to show you what I do. Lionel, I just put it in like a half a bottle of water, give it a shake, and then it's ready to go. You can put it in smoothies. You can, and you say put it on your cereal, put on your fruit, whatever. It is just a food, guys. That's what it is. And it tastes great. There's no major issue. As Lionel said, okay, Dr. Paul Clayton is one of the key doctors that we've got here. Dr. Colin Robson as well, which is our product chairman. He looks after the formulation with Dr. Clayton on all of our products. One part of the package that we haven't got in Australia, for the people listening overseas in Europe, you do have access to what we call the Extend Plus, which is our nutritional product. That is also the third part of the program that will come to Australia in the next 4 to 6 months. So as that comes, this is a full pack, jam-packed, all-natural multivitamin product to complement our health protocol program. Please understand all of our products are all-natural products as well. So Lionel, as we wrap out, we're going to meet again on the 27th of April down in Melbourne, Australia at Bullen, okay, at the Menning Hotel. So guys, if you want to hear Lionel speak and you're in Melbourne, just get yourself to the Menning Hotel at 7 p.m. for a 7:30 start. It's going to be a great session. We do talk a lot about the product, but we're also, Lionel, you've been so gracious to do a session between 3 and 5 just on the product. So if you do have people that just want to talk about the product, again, Lionel can't give medical, sort of replies to some of the questions. He can only give his opinion, and then he will obviously direct you back to your medical practitioner or your wellness professional because they have your history. He can only give what he knows, what he's done. Lionel, in a wrap up, because that's going to be a great session, and you'll see some information on Facebook and other places, or just talk to the person that's invited you on the call. As we wrap out the call, Lionel, can you just give the guys something to, if they were going to add this to their life now, anything else that you say, hey, you need to do this as you're changing your eating habits, as you're starting to change the way your body is requesting to be, fed better food instead of the junk food. And that's what I find with a lot of people as well, Lionel. They actually don't have the cravings for the junk food anymore. Those cravings go away. So as we close out for the next few minutes, can you just give your 2-minute, this is what I would do, Lionel, speech?
Yeah. So for me, it's pretty simple. If we're going to go on a journey of health and wellness, as whether we're practitioners or just individuals who want to improve their health and well-being, we have to own the journey. And the only way that I know to own the journey is to actually understand the journey, understand where we are at as individuals or where our clients are at, and then as a consequence of developing that understanding, put in place a pathway and a process or protocols that, 1, are achievable, 2, are realistic, 3, are clearly understood, but most importantly, are backed up by evidence. There's no better way to own a journey and to understand a journey than to understand what it is that is required of you, whether it's working or whether it's not, and to seek as much advice as you can in developing that understanding. I have an absolute obligation, as I think most practitioners do these days, to empower their clients by giving them as much information as you can. We try and provide evidence and platforms for our people so that they can follow their progress, they can understand the journey, but more importantly, they can apply the journey to their own individual selves. In an industry where a lot of generic information is given out to a lot of people, the perfect way for me to break that down is to say, right, let's look at you, the individual. Let's understand what your needs and requirements are. Let's look at the evidence and let's use that evidence to provide the intervention at a nutritional level that we can.
Fantastic, Lionel. Again, thank you so much for your time, energy, and effort. It's always great to have a 30-minute chat with you and just, just enforce that this information is there and that, like you said, guys, it's your responsible to own your journey in the wellness program. And we can only give you the evidence tools, the tools that can actually give the evidence on what your cellular structure is like at today, and then what we can do as you consume the incredible Zenzino products. So Lionel, thank you so much again. Please hit the share button, guys. Get this information out to as many people as possible. The links will be posted on my Facebook and social media connections. Grab them, put them out everywhere, and let's get this information to as many people as possible. Don't forget, next week, we've got some incredible speakers coming on. Next month, my apology. Next month, another 4 great speakers as we have this wellness journey that we've done for the last 8 weeks on this 12-week program as we share the incredible opportunity that we have with our products here at Zenzino. Thank you so much, Lionel. Truly appreciate you.
That's right. Thanks for the opportunity. Take care,
Thanks, guys.
everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.